I was in college, actually, when I first met Gus Ishihara, the founder of Group 70. He was my second-year studio teacher. And he had the privilege of being in the studio of Mies van der Rohe, one of the premier 20th century architects. Then studied under Louis Kahn, who's another 20th century master architect. He studied under two masters with very different approaches.
Just envision this: Gus Ishihara coming from a taro farm in Waihole, Waikane. Myself coming from Kalihi Palama, right across from Merite Housing. Gordon Tiao, who was the only middle-class guy who was a Roosevelt graduate. All three of us had gone to Ivy League schools for our education. So when we came back, we had long hair down to our shoulders, we wore slippers, and we had this philosophy that everyone who comes into Group 70, whether they have slippers on their feet, wearing a suit or t-shirt, they're all welcomed in the same way. They are honored in the same way. So whether a client comes in to do a big fancy hotel, and we never thought about hotels in those days because that was out of our reach, or a community for the poor, we treat them in the same way. Waimanalo was such a community. We created a community there that was suited to their lifestyle, the agricultural lifestyle. We knew that gardens and chickens and all of that had to be part of it. And to this day, the people are living there, and I think they are enjoying that community.
At Group 70, teamwork is really important. None of us has ever done a project solely individually without anybody else's participation. Architecture, by its nature, is a team process. You have people who are specialized in the conception, you have people who specialize in how to document that so that it can reach fruition, and you have people who work with the contractors to make it all come together. So it's important for continuity that this really be a cohesive team that will keep everybody together to come out with an end product that makes everyone happy.
In whatever we do, design, planning, interior design, Group 70 has a certain core value of responsibility, not only to the client, but also to the community. And we need the two to mesh.
In discovering Kamaina architecture, it was a matter of going back to past precedents. Here in Hawaii, we have a unique kind of architecture. They came out in the 30s, just before the war, and it reflected the amalgam of East and Western influences. So here you have a Mediterranean wall, which relates to the Kamaina families going around to kind of the grand tour in Europe. They see these villas. But then it's capped with a Chinese roof. To me, it reflected the kind of multiculturalism of Hawaii, but then in a modern way. George Kanahele and I were very good friends. George and I began to speak together as a kind of tag team. I spoke about architecture and how we create places that are appropriate for Hawaii, and I coined the term Kamaina architecture. And he brought the depth of Hawaiian culture and cultural understanding, and he coined the term Hawaiian sense of place.
In our efforts to make Waikiki healthy economically, we need also to make Waikiki healthy spiritually, because that is part of its destiny. And as a hosting community, that's also another responsibility we bear, not only to those who came before us, but to those who are here, and more importantly, to those who will still come.
When I was a young architect, I was very determined not to be labeled as an interior decorator, because when I was a young architect, only boys were in architecture school. Later, when I realized that people these days spend 96% of their waking hours indoors, it occurred to me that the interior of the buildings was equally, if not in certain ways, more important to the health and well-being of individuals than the shell of the building that they're in. Not to make light of the importance of building design in the environment, but the interior, the things that people see and touch and feel every day of their lives, is a very important thing. The feel of an environment can make a person feel very calm, it can make you feel energized, it can create a feeling of luxury or of being sort of transported to another world, and that's what we do in interior design. We really are addressing those psychological and emotional needs, not only the physical.
Everybody's allowed to find niches and grow those niches, and I know in the future there's going to be other things that come out of this firm that I can't even visualize today. Architecture shouldn't, impose its will and just, obliterate a landscape. That it should fit in the land and be part of the land.
Planning and architecture are not just for the wealthy. Planning and architecture are two of the professions that help to create the entire environment in which all of us live. There may be people who can't afford to take their whole family to the movies, but they may like to go down and walk around and people watch at Ward Center. Yes, it takes money to hire planners and hire architects and develop buildings, but the end result really affects the entire community, not just the clients for whom the building was actually constructed.
You come to work and you are excited to work on something different that affects a lot of people or improves lives for groups of people or the city as a whole.
For over 2 decades, Group 70's done military master planning in Hawaii, Japan, Korea, Diego Garcia, Guam. Many of our planners and architects have traveled extensively, looking at schools, looking at whole bases.
It's a wonderful project. 26,000 acres. It's a tremendous piece of land going from the ridge of the mountains down to the edge of the reef. And the future of that land, it's largely preservation land and agricultural land and smaller rural communities along the coast. Hawaii has a real opportunity to set a model for the world, and of course, we have a lot of hope for the future.
What really gets me excited in the morning is to get up is the idea of designing a green school, a place where kids can, learn in an environment that's healthy, that's saving energy, that's full of daylight. Those things get me really excited to get out of bed and get to work. As far as my son's generation and the generations after him, and we need to leave something on the planet in terms of resources for them. What better way to do it is than to have examples in the places where they're going to school and they spend more hours in the day than they spend with us, to see examples of how to sustain the earth.
Sustainability has always been part of our current community. We are no longer in a simple world where we have abundant supplies of everything. So I'm very optimistic about the future, and that mostly comes through with the younger generation.
Group 70's evolved over the last 40 years utilizing technology. We envisioned and created the global sustainability map, and we're also partnering in that solar. We're providing resources for people so that they can find great sustainable products, installations, even contractors, and the first sustainable marketplace in the Pacific Rim, trying to not only educate ourselves but also our clients and the community. Love to showcase new technologies so that everyone gets a holistic picture of sustainability.
I see my kids as a father of 4, them pressing me to be more sustainable and to learn things and to educate and do things different.
Especially our clients, of course, who without them, none of this would have been possible. We just say mahalo, thank you so much.
And maybe by then we'll have colonies on the moon and Mars even, who knows? But I do know this, wherever the world is going and wherever Hawaii is going, Group 70 is going to be at the forefront as part of that future.